Hello there guys, Geonobi here, back again with another Saber video. This one's going to be slightly different. I'm actually just going to start off and get right into how the Saber works and how it controls, because the person who the Saber is going out to, I believe this might be their first Proffieboard lightsaber, so I wanted to make it easy on them and just show off right off the bat how to operate the Saber. So, and because of that, I've already got the blade in. Usually I start off these videos without the blade in, but to make things easier, I have the blade in, and I also have a full-length blade here just to show off all the effects. So to turn it on, really simple, you've got two buttons to work with here, and the one that you want to worry about the most is this top button here when it comes to turning it off and on. So this top button is what you want to do to turn it off and on, and all you got to do is just tap it. No need to hold the button, just a simple tap. That'll turn it on, just like that. And to turn it off, you just tap it, just like that. And if you ever want to change colors, you'll have to have the Saber off, and then you'll hit this bottom button here instead. I don't know how well this will show up on camera, but this is actually a lighter blue than the blue I just showed off. And again, top button to turn it off. Also, this bottom button, when the Saber is on, so when the blade is ignited, will trigger blaster blocks. And you can see it on the blade. It's to simulate, blasters hitting the lightsaber and they're being, deflected or bounced back at the opponent. So that's what that simulates there. And again, just a simple tap on the bottom button while the Saber is on. Also, while the Saber is on, you can hold down this bottom button for a lockup. And a lockup is simulating basically two lightsabers clashing together and being held in place. You know how like when Jedi and Sith, lock their blades together and look each other in the eye, that sort of stuff. So, and I think you can see it there on the camera. That middle part of the blade is like white. And then, so as long as you hold down that button, that is going to keep the lock up there for as long as you hold it. So, I'm holding it now, and then I'm letting go, and then yeah, you can see it goes away right after that. So there is that. Let me turn off the blade here for a sec. If you hear any barking in the background, I am taking care of my brother's dog at the moment, so forgive me on that. Didn't have a better time to record this, I apologize. So there is the basic controls. There are other controls as well, one of them being having music queue up, so you can actually have music play on the Saber. So an easy way to do that, or the only way to do that, is to hold down this top button here while the Saber is off. Hold it down, and then for about a second, and then let it go. It'll happen when you let it go, so don't hold it until you hear the sound. Just hold it for about a second, and then when you let go, the sound will happen. Watch this. Like that. And you'll notice that little jingle, I suppose you can say. That means you can choose the music that you want to select. And to choose it, you'll want to rotate the Saber. See that? When you get a song you like, you can just tap that button again. Just a simple tap. You'll hear a little beep, and then, I don't know if that showed up, or if you can hear that on camera, but you'll hear a little beep. The music will play. I can rotate this, and nothing will happen. Well, actually, the blade will turn on because of motion controls, but I'll get to that later. So, as you can see, you can have the music play and have the blade on as well. You can do a bunch of other effects as well. All those effects I mentioned previously, they're still available. To turn it off, same exact thing. Hold down the button for about a second, and then let go. Just like that, and there you go, music's gone. So, there is the music, and as I mentioned previously, though I did not mean to do it intentionally, there is motion control. So there is a way to turn on the Saber without actually touching any buttons. And how you do that is just a quick twist of the Saber, like a motorcycle, like that. So you so a quick back and forth of a rolling motion, just like that. So that is how to turn it on without even having to press any buttons. That is, you'll see why that comes in handy later in a second. Oh yes, so something I forgot to mention, while the blade is on, you can do something called a lightning block, and a lightning block just simulates when if Sith uses force lightning. there are some times where the Jedi will block it with their lightsaber. So to simulate that, we do have something for that. While the saber is on, you can hold this top button and then tap the bottom button there. And for as long as you hold this top button, the lightning block will occur. So let me show that off right now. So again, blade on. Hold top button and then click down on the bottom button. And you can see those flashes of white across the blade. That I'm letting go of the top button. And then it'll do one final flash on the blade there, and then it'll be over. So there is that. That's how you get your lightning block. So a very nice little effect. Looks even better in person if you ask me. So there is that. Also, another small tidbit. When you cycle through the colors, because as I mentioned previously, you just tap this bottom button while it's off. That'll switch to a different color. If you ever go past the color that you wanted, because there's about 16 colors in here, so sometimes you'll actually, just go right past the one you wanted to go to on accident. And to, go back a color instead of forward in the list, you'll actually want the saber to be turned upside down, and then you'll hit that bottom button. I would show that off, however, I don't think I can show that on camera with how big this blade is, but yeah, I promise that's how it works. So yeah, do keep that in mind. But for now, let me switch up to a different color.
Ben Kenobi, the Exile.
Also, when you switch colors, as you can definitely hear, there's little quotes that play. Some of them are from the movies, some of them are from video games, but, just a nice little quote will play while you switch the colors here.
This is Mikal. I have found the Exile.
I am the last of the handmaidens.
There's a purple there. Looks pretty good. So yeah, that's just something to note when you're switching to the colors. That it'll play a quote, and yeah, don't be alarmed by that. That's just it's just the saber telling you that it's switching to a different color, just so you know. I tried to keep all the colors and sort of like organized in a way, so all the blues are together, all the greens are together, all the purples are like, yeah, all next to each other on the list. So I wanted to make it easier for you to control. And now one more thing. So actually, I think we'll go over two more things. One of them is taking out the blade and putting in what's called a blade plug. So I have that here. I don't know if you know what that is, but a blade plug is here just to make sure that when you take out the blade, you can put this in instead, and it'll look nice, it'll still look pretty, and also the lights that come out don't blind you. The lights aren't that bright when the blade is out, but still, it's nicer on the eyes, to have some diffusion there. So that's what we have the blade plug for. And let me show that off real quick, how to put that in. So here we're gonna show off how to remove the blade. This is pretty simple. You just have an Allen wrench here. You're gonna wanna take that Allen wrench and put it to this screw right there. Give it a little twist, lefty righty, or lefty loosey, righty tighty, excuse me. You know the drill, you've probably heard that 1,000 times before. So you can do that. Remove the blade, just comes right out. There you go. And now you'll notice that there's nothing in there. So what you'll want to do is take your little blade plug, this guy right here, put it in with the metal side facing up. Put that sucker in there. Have it lit. Now it lays flat like that, which is nice. You'll want to take your Allen wrench again and instead go right. Put that in, righty-tighty, and you'll notice the blade plug ain't going anywhere. See? Try to shake it out, it won't come out. Accidentally changed color, that's all right. So there is that blade plug, and when I turn the saber on, you'll notice that there's still color there, but it doesn't blind your eyes. It's totally fine to look at. It's all diffused light, and it's just to show what color you're on, and just to look nice while the saber is out. And so this is great for, having on like a desk, or great for display, You could also have it on your belt. This thing sports something called a CoverTech wheel. So you can have a CoverTech thing on your belt. I'm not going to give you one because I actually don't have one, to be honest with you. I don't have a spare one to give. I only have the one. So unfortunately, you'll have to buy your own on the CoverTech there. But yes, it does have that. So if you ever want to hang it on your belt, you can do so with this CoverTech wheel here. Last thing we'll go over here is how to charge the battery. So let me show you how that's done. There's something at the bottom here called a pommel. That's the pommel of the lightsaber. Pretty easy to notice. It's right this little bottom section here. You just turn it left to loosen it up. Unscrew that sucker. Put it aside. and you'll notice something a little poking out there. You can just let that slide out of your hands like that. Make sure it doesn't fall out of the socket there onto the ground or anything. You'll want to catch it before it does that. Make sure you don't want to damage this thing. So you'll notice here, look at that. Look at these pretty little lights here we got. So there is a 10 pixel strip here going across. That just does its own little animation. It's got different animations and different colors depending on what color you're on. So that plays a nice little animation there. Let me see if I can get the camera to focus and be nice to me. But I kind of doubt it. That thing on the top here, that's your motherboard. We call that the Proffieboard in the business. So that controls everything. And then you'll notice here, this chassis has some like letters here. That is my name in Arabic. Arabic is a fictional language in the Star Wars universe. And that is my, well, I say name, but it's closer to like my signature, like my tag, which is Obi-Wan Kenobi. So yeah, that's what that says there in Arabic. I just wanted to show off a bit of this paint job here because I am quite proud of it. Once you get your hands on this, it won't matter. Obviously, you can look at it with your own eyes, but I think I'm just showing this off for anyone else who's watching this video here. So there's that, and you'll notice a little switch on the bottom here. This is what we call a kill switch. You flip that sucker and everything turns off. Watch this. It turns off the lights on the side, and if I were to plug this sucker back in, it would not turn on no matter what button I press. It wouldn't matter. Nothing's turning the sucker on. This is completely powered off, even though you can see the battery on the bottom here. Doesn't matter. The kill switch powers off everything. That you'll want to click when you're done playing with the Saber for the day, because the LEDs for the Saber, they drain more power than you think. And they drain power while the Saber is off, like while the Saber isn't even ignited. So to save on power, and to make sure your battery lasts longer than 2 minutes. It's not actually 2 minutes, but you get what I'm saying. We have to turn it off to make sure, like, you know, when you have it, when you go to sleep, it doesn't just drain battery all day. So, or all night, I should say. So you have to turn it off. Again, just flip that switch. Everything turns off. Also, if you're ever stuck when operating the Saber, like let's say you're not sure what happened, you're not sure where you are in the color list, or you know you're lost on what's happening exactly with the Saber. That can happen sometimes for someone who's not really versed in the Proffieboard and how it operates. That's okay. You can always take this sucker out and flip the switch to turn everything off. It is always, and I repeat, always okay to flip the switch to turn everything off. Doesn't matter what you're doing, doesn't matter what the Proffieboard is doing, doesn't matter if the blade is plugged in or not. Does not matter. It is always okay to take this thing out and flip the switch to turn everything off and reset. It is designed so that you can just, no matter what, turn off and it's all good to go. So when you turn it back on, it's basically just a reset.
I've seen this raw strength only once before.
Yeah, just like that. So that's how to turn it off and on. And again, turn it off when you're done for the day so your battery doesn't drain like crazy. Speaking of the battery, we want to charge this at some point in time. So when you get it handed to you, it should be fully charged. But one day you're going to want to charge it, and you'll notice here, this black thing here is the battery. So to take that out, you'll want to grab it from the positive side. And I've marked the positive side here with this red little arrow, so it makes it very obvious what positive side is. You'll want to just grab it from the top here. It's going to be a little harder with my gloves, but hopefully it gets the point across. You grab this top from the gloves, and you just kind of, with your nail, just kind of pull it out. Like that. I made it real easy too. You'll notice that everything turned off, obviously, because there's no battery in. Here is your battery. This top side here is the side with the positive. You'll notice the little button top there. And the negative side is a bit more obvious. Just a gold bottom there. That's your negative side. You'll want to remember that. It's extremely important because this sucker obviously needs a positive and negative side to connect to. As I mentioned previously, positive side is this little red arrow here, and the negative side is this spring here. So always, always, always put the negative side to the spring and the positive side to the red arrow. Do not, and I repeat, if you do not mix those two up. If you take anything away from this video, that is the most important thing. Do not put this in backwards. If you put this battery in backwards, a lot of LEDs are getting fried. You're probably ruining the Saber for good. So please do not do that. So I'm telling you that right now. I'm going to repeat it once more. Spring side is the negative side of the battery. Red arrow side is the positive side of the battery. So there is that. I just realized I forgot to bring the charger to show you how to charge it. I'll be right back in 1 second. Okay, so here is the charger. This is the charger you're going to get. Just a nice, simple, single cell charger here. So you'll notice on the top here, I don't know how well it'll focus, but it'll tell you which side is positive and which side is negative. Just like that. So thankfully the camera is focusing. So you want to put this positive side to the top. And this thing obviously isn't plugged in, but it'll start, telling you that it's charging from this little LED here. I think it turns red if I remember correctly. So that'll know so that it's charging. Once it's done, it'll turn green. You're good to go to pull the thing out. So pull this sucker out like that. Let me put this aside. And when you are ready to put everything back together, grab your little chassis here. Again, negative side, spring side. You'll put that in just like so. To make it easier on you, by the way, I'd like to put it in negative side first. So you put it into the negative and then pop it into the top like that. Also, when putting it in, this isn't necessary, but I would like you to do this because it keeps the paint job as nice as possible and doesn't let it wear too much over time. So you'll notice on the top here of this battery, there's let me see how well this shows up on camera. There is a silver line across this battery. I think it does. Even if it's not focusing, I think it is showing up on camera, thankfully. There's a silver line across this battery. What you'll want to do is make sure that silver line is kind of
It's time to let old things die.
Kind of to the side like this, almost hugging the side of the chassis here. Like so. And you'll wonder why that is the case. That's because that's the fattest part of the battery. It's hard to tell because it almost looks entirely circular, but it's not. That's the fattest side of the battery. So you want that set to the side so that when you slide it into your lightsaber here, it just goes in as smoothly as possible. If you were to not put it in this way, it could still go in just fine. You would just have to kind of force it. You'll notice right here when I let it go, it literally just slides right in. If I were to have the battery, and I'll just do it here for example, if I were to have the battery not lined up, instead have the battery, with the fattest part on the in the middle there, you'll notice I'll put it in and see how it's not sliding in like that? Yeah, that's because the fattest part is kind of blocking it. But again, you can, if I were to push it in, you can, and it goes in pretty smoothly. Still put it in that way, but to make sure that the paint doesn't, rub on the inside of the chassis too much, I would prefer if you do it this way and have the silver side hug the side of the chassis here. This silver line hug the side of the chassis. Doesn't matter which side, by the way. So we'll do that again real quick. And the nice thing about this chassis is that when you slide it in, it does not matter how you rotate it. Doesn't matter at all. Not one bit. I activated the motion controls. Also, that's another nice thing about the motion controls is you can turn on the saber while it is out, like this. And you can see some cool animations like that. See? Did a cool little white flash there. And then when you turn it off, you'll notice that the LEDs actually slow down a little bit. That's why I put those motion controls on there, by the way. Anyway, so there is, that's the motion controls and why I have them in there. But again, now that we have it on the side, that silver line hugging the side, you'll notice it'll just slide right in. Yep, just like that. Take your pommel. Screw that sucker back in, righty-tighty. And you're good to go. Just like that. You got swings, by the way. Forgot to mention, you got swings. You got clashes. Clashes are activated just by hitting the saber, either with the blade or just smacking it. That works too, no problem. And again, swings. Yeah, so that is how to operate the saber. I do hope I covered everything, and if not, I will edit something in after, but if I didn't, and I remembered everything, that should be how to operate the saber. So, you ever get lost on how to operate your saber, or you ever forget, it's been a hot minute since you for whatever reason you haven't touched it in a while, you forget how it works, always come back to this video and then I'll just explain it again. You can always have this video to come back and explain all the controls back to you again. So that is how to operate the saber. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you enjoy your saber, sir or madam who is getting the saber. So really hope you enjoyed it. I put a lot of time and effort into both designing the chassis and playing with it. I mean, I've had this saber for I think a couple years now. It's been amazing. I really love it. Also, something to note. This is a lightsaber from the original trilogy, or sorry, not the original trilogy, the prequel trilogy. This is from episode 2. This is a lightsaber that Obi-Wan gets when he is handed a lightsaber in the arena because the Jedi free him from the arena and he doesn't have a lightsaber, so they toss him a lightsaber and it's this one. This is the lightsaber. So it's originally blue. I have it in purple right now, obviously, but yeah, just a little bit tidbit there for you if you're not sure where this lightsaber comes from. Episode 2. So yes, that will be it for the controls, and then I'll head into the design philosophy a little bit. So now I wanted to get a little into how I designed this thing and my process with it. So this is actually the very first chassis I ever designed on my own. So when I got my P1S printer, I was like, okay, well, time to get started. Let's just jump right into it, make a chassis, see what I can do. So what I did, because I didn't have any idea of what software to use, I used Tinkercad, if you can believe it. This entire thing was designed in Tinkercad. So it took a long time because of that. Yeah, Tinkercad, not the fastest software, I will tell you that much. But I'm just going to go over a bit of the paint job again, just so you guys get a nice, decent view of it. But yeah, this was all designed in Tinkercad, this entire thing. So we're sporting a 28mm speaker here, along with a Proffieboard V3.9. This is an 18650 battery, good old 15 amp, 3000 mAh battery. It's got some PCBs for the chassis. There's one inside the lightsaber hilt as well, obviously. And then this is sporting a 10 pixel 2020 pixel strip. Most people like to use what is actually, I'm sorry, did I say 2020? I meant to say 50/50, excuse me. Most people sport a 2020 on their pixel strips. This one was 50/50 because that was, when I designed it, that was all I had at the time. So I decided to use a 50/50 pixel strip, and it still looks pretty good, I'd say. Only thing I would change if I were to go back and do it again is the diffusion. The diffusion film is not quite as potent as I was hoping for. So if I were ever to do this again, I would probably just use better diffusion film, which I have now, but at the time I didn't. I only had very mediocre diffusion. So that's why it might seem a little bright, even on camera. It's quite bright in person as well. So that's what's rocking. It's also rocking a kill switch, as I mentioned previously, so there is that. This sucker is painted in almost entirely rub and buff. So for this main color here, the silver we've got going on, this is a silver leaf. Very common color, I find, and it looks very, very nice. The circuitry, almost kind of color here, is an antique gold, if I remember correctly. And this piping here, let me see if I can get the focus. Probably not, because the camera hates me. This piping here is a nice little gold leaf. Yeah, this camera really does hate me, don't it? That's fine. You get the idea. You can see the color, even without the focus. It's a gold leaf, by the way. So that's what the piping is for. And I love piping. I love when I design chassis. I love to put piping... turn off, that's fine. I love to put piping into my design work. I actually have, in my next thing I designed, my next chassis I designed, I put a ton of piping into the design work. But for this one, I just put a little because I wasn't sure what to do with it. Again, this was my first design ever. So... yeah, I used just, very simple piping here. 2 simple pipes across the line with some indents into the pipe as well. So there is that. As for the other colors, these are just straight up regular old acrylic colors. Nothing fancy, so much so not being that fancy that I straight up don't know what paint brand it is. I have genuinely no idea. But for the red... it is, yeah, we've got a red going on here, and we've also got a nice green and blue here. I think if I were to change anything about this, I would make this green and red instead of green and blue. But the green and blue still works. Still looks good. Also, no focus because... Oh, there we go. And then this little circular part here, not even sure what that's supposed to be, to be honest. I just thought it looked cool. Is gold leaf as well, just so you know. That part is gold leaf. And for the design, I really wanted everything to kind of connect. So obviously you have the motherboard here, the Proffieboard, and I wanted everything in here to connect, so it all kind of made sense. So you'll notice that all the anti-gold circuitry kind of connects to everything. So you'll notice it connects everything to the board. So here's the board, and then you'll notice this little line here goes to the pixel strip. So it's almost like, you know, just like in real life, the board is powering the pixel strip. I also wanted to show that with the design as well. This little thing going to the pixel strip. There is also, you'll see here, a line going from the Proffieboard into the speaker here. So the circuitry goes to the speaker, right at, where is it? Just like right there, there it is. So it all connects together. I wanted to make it feel kind of obvious, almost functional in a way. And as mentioned previously, this is airbrush for Obi-Wan Kenobi. There we go, nice and focused in. So that's my signature. I try to put my signature on any chassis I make, but sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes I don't have enough space. That's okay, not a big deal. Let me turn this back on. Ah, yes, something I forgot to mention is keeping in line with the design of the saber here. Actually, I forgot to mention this is a Saberbay Geonobi, by the way. It's probably in the title, but I probably should have said it as well. This is a Saberbay Geonobi. I love this thing. Super nice. When I got it, it was hella cheap too, so I'm very happy with it. Insane bang for my buck. I absolutely love this thing. Which is almost like, it's kind of hard to let it go, to be honest. I have another one that I'll probably install at some point, but this one means a lot to me because it was my very first chassis that I ever designed. Well, I really hope the new owner likes it because boy, did I put a lot of time and effort and love into this one. But to keep in line with the design of the chassis, I wanted it to kind of match the asymmetrical look of the hilt itself. This hilt has a lot of asymmetrical features to it. You'll notice the buttons don't line up perfectly with this like square bit here. It's not like perfectly down the center aligned. Almost nothing on the front here is mirrored on the back. It's just a very asymmetrical design here, and I wanted to mirror that with the chassis design, so that's what I did. Almost nothing is mirrored from one side to the other. Obviously, there's only one strip, so if I look into the other side, there's pipe instead, and there's for these two rings on the edge here. There's no rings on the edge here. In fact, the only thing that I think is symmetrical is this top design here for the circuitry is the exact same as it is on the bottom. I think that's the only symmetrical thing on this chassis. Everything else is asymmetrical. Everything else is doesn't quite line up perfectly, except for the strip. I think the strip is like perfectly aligned down the middle, but everything else is just a little off. Like this is just a little, like this little black square is a little higher than it should be. Actually, this one might be symmetrical as well. This one might be right down the middle of the Proffieboard. So there's that. Okay, so two things that are symmetrical. Also, this is sporting a Rogue sound font. So this is Mad Cow's Rogue, probably my favorite sound font ever. I don't know if there's a sound font that ever beats this. I love this thing. I put it on literally every single lightsaber I've ever made. It's such a classic design, and one of the power-up sounds is just so like, it's so good. I love hearing it. I wonder if I can get it. Hold on. Nope, that's the wrong one. Hold on. Yeah, that's that power on, bro. It gets me every time. It's so good. That power on right there is why is half the reason I love this sound font. It's such a good sound font. Shout outs to Mad Cow. Mr. Rob Petcow for making this font. I put it on literally every lightsaber. It's so good. But yeah, I think that'll be it for this video. This is probably gonna be like a 30-minute video. Like, god dang. I'm sorry about that, by the way, for anyone watching. I should really make these shorter, but I really love this lightsaber. I love this design. My very first design for a chassis, and it just turned out wonderfully. I'm so happy with how it turned out. So yeah, really hope the new guy who likes it, or girl, the guy or girl, I don't know who it's going to. But I hope the new person liked it. I hope you really enjoy it as much as I loved making it and cherishing it for as long as I had it. So yeah, that'll be it for this video. I have blathered on way too long. I am sorry about that, by the way. But I will catch you guys on the next video. Peace out.